Hi and welcome to True Crime, a channel dedicated to the dark underworld of criminal activity carried out by gangsters, mobsters, cartel leaders, and others. What Netflix tried to hide about Queen of the South, if you want to know it, you have landed in the right place. In this video, we are going to discuss it. So, without further delay, let us get to it. Teresa Mendoza is a tough and shrewd woman in Netflix's Queen of the South who will stop at nothing to take down the Mexican cartel. But what if I told you that this made-up persona was modeled after a real-life Guatemalan woman named Narco? How important a part women play in the Central and South American drug trade is now coming to light. El Chapo and Las Petronas are dominating the world. Forget about Pablo Escobar. Marllory Chacon Roselle was a part of this intricate network that connected the highest levels of both Guatemala's governmental and criminal elites. She was spot on when it came to the storm's eye. 5 years after Marllory Chacon was given a sentence of 26 years in jail. She was born in Guatemala City, the country's capital, on October 4, 1972. Marllory's intelligence was the first quality that was made very obvious. The former DEA agent claimed, "I spied on a former DEA agent, and he said that Marllory was different from you and had very high-end skills, and it just so happened that she decided to apply those in the trade instead." Had Marllory been in the legal world, where she could have attained the CEO position in some big company? Marllory never really showed any interest in the law profession. Marllory made the decision to become successful in the criminal underground when she was still relatively young. She enrolled at a university after high school to study psychology, but after a few years, she left and started working in the drug trade. She ascended fast through the ranks to become one of Guatemala's and eventually Central America's most prominent money launderers. It's unclear whether her family had any ties to the Guatemalan cartels or whether she took this choice on her own. She allegedly previously made $10 million a month while working hard for significant Mexican gangs, according to the DEA. Miller Richard Kahn is a significant player in the drug trade due to her involvement in drug trafficking and connections to Mexican drug organizations. The U.S. Treasury and Marllory claim to have knowledge of how South American cartels function and how extreme ruthlessness was required to succeed. Marllory was driven to excel in her field and had no intention of slipping under the radar. Although Marllory had mastered the art of money laundering, she needed one crucial component: relationships. She took the time to build relationships all around Guatemala. An $8 million contract fell through, but Marllory found a new buyer in Lou Lorenzana, a ruthless drug boss and Don Balda's younger brother. Then came Las Petronas, a network of female narcos bosses across Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras, and El Salvador. Soon, she had a network full of drug lords and brutal criminal businesses. According to what I'd been told, her brothers would abduct young women, take them to their mansion, rip them, and sneak them past the security personnel. Marllory wasn't just a spectator though. She scared individuals first with the security guards who were usually surrounding her before using her feminine charms to close agreements with cartel men. One, a former cartel member, recalls her as a huge, terrifying woman who always had security at the entrance and traveled with protection everywhere due to the type of people she was surrounded with. But Marllory, who was known as the Queen of the South, didn't merely buy the security guards herself because she already had contacts to the highest levels of the Guatemalan government. Marllory was caught in the center of the storm because she had developed friendships with people who held extremely high positions in the government and was a member of a web that extended all the way to Guatemala's political and criminal elite. She felt invincible because the government itself was defending her and her business. Marllory was to be protected by the National Police, as well as 3 or 4 automobiles from the Interior Ministry. There have been rumors of Bania visiting Marllory at home at one time in 2013, but it's unclear how close Marllory and Guatemala's Interior Minister Mauricio Lopez Bonilla were, or whether they were simply motivated by a desire for money and power. He gave the go-ahead for Marllory to be protected 24 hours a day while she moved from town to town securing high-end narcotic sales. The vice president of Guatemala, Roxana Baldetti, was a friend of Marllory's as well. It makes sense why she believed she was untouchable, given that she had official protection from the government and could do whatever she wanted. She could clinch deals for millions of dollars while laundering money order hits, rise to the top of the Guatemalan cartel, and become the Queen of the South. Like in the cases of Pablo Escobar and El Chapo, Marllory Chacon did not limit herself to transporting vehicles between Central and South American countries. Significant shipments of white powder would enter the country at her command, and by the middle of the decade, the DEA became involved. What would you do if you discovered that the DEA was tracking your every move, possibly bugging your crew, and following you? Mallory was a valuable asset to the DEA, and once they punished her, she realized that she would need to work very hard if she wanted to avoid spending the rest of her life in prison. That is true. Mallory decided she would bring her cartel down, with her if she were to lose, rather than engage in combat with it. Marllory flipped as soon as the DEA contacted her and said she would help break up the entire Guatemalan cartel and send its unscrupulous leaders to court. She didn't even hold back till she was arrested. The initial detainees by American authorities included Roxana Baldetti and Mauricio Lopez Bonilla. Do you remember working with the first drug boss Marllory dealt with, Lou Lorenzana? If so, you are aware of her brutality given that she divulged to the DEA the identities of every person she had ever dealt with. She was aware that she would serve a lengthy prison sentence, so she wanted to protect her freedom while also ensuring that no one would pursue her. Roxana Baldetti and Mauricio Lopez Bonilla, who were both found guilty of corruption and sentenced to prison in Guatemala, will probably be extradited to the United States to face charges after their prison terms are up. More time behind bars is a result for both of them. Bonilla was formerly the top security advisor for the United States in Guatemala regarding counter-narcotics and security, thus it's intriguing to note that he was simultaneously guarding Marllory. Even more stunning is the jail time Marllory received. After serving fewer than 5 years in jail, her sentence was reduced to 12 years in the next year, and Marllory was freed on bail in 2019. This demonstrates how much your sentence can be reduced by tipping off your former allies, but don't feel bad for them. She was facing 26 years in prison in 2014 due to a number of crimes, including money laundering and human trafficking. She was supposed to spend this much time in the federal prison in Miami. Being an active member of a cartel is particularly noteworthy in my opinion because cartels are sometimes dog-eat-dog organizations. Remember La Flaca, who was about 20 years old when she was found dismembered in separate boxes all over Mexico. Guess again, the majority of these women work long hours for meager wages in departments where paid assassins are employed. The few women who do make it to the top of their fields are so violent that it is no longer cool to kill and maim people in order to advance in your career. There is nothing. So that the males in their local area will take them seriously, claim that women in violent occupations, and this does certainly apply to legal industries as well, tend to be more violent than men. Because they have been perceived for so long as wives, girlfriends, or victims, many legendary cartel guys don't think that women are capable of violence. This was also apparent in the case of Marllory Chacon, as it seems that the Lorenzana brothers openly made fun of them and cut short their evidence during her Sebastiana Cotton Vasquez trials. The two women ultimately received their last words by testifying against him, which resulted in their life sentences. Marllory's residence may not be known with any certainty, but it is safe to assume that she won't be coming home anytime soon. It is probably dangerous to travel those streets after testifying against practically all of your former supporters, and it is unlikely that she will ever have official protection again because her political buddies are currently in prison. The Queen of the South's era seems to be over. She must now conduct a typical middle-class existence, staying out of trouble and giving the DEA no reason to jail her once more. Currently, some publications claim that Netflix's Queen of the South is based on the character of Marllory, while others assert that it is based on Sandra Avia Batran, a high-ranking cartel boss who oversaw massive shipments of white powder into the United States, and was once referred to as the Queen of the Pacific. It's hard to identify whether female narcos in particular inspired this series, or if the creators were influenced by both. Thank you for watching another amazing video from our true crime team. Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned to our next real-life true crime video.